This may seem like a strange place for a church, but on a spot very near here, on February 22nd, 1837, the First Presbyterian Church of Galesburg held its first worship service. A small plaque commemorates that spot near Lake Story, where we first gathered for worship. Log City was a collection of temporary cabins built by the pioneers who had come here to start a town. George Washington Gale, our first minister, led them here with a dream of building a college, a town, and a Presbyterian church on this still unsettled prairie. Services were first held in the cabin of Hugh Conger. When the settlers moved into town, they began meeting in the Knox Academy, which was the first building of the college located at Cherry and Main Street. Plans were made to build the first church at the southwest corner of the square on land given by Knox College for a Presbyterian house of worship. When it was dedicated in 1848, it was one of the largest buildings in the state of Illinois. In 1851, the Presbyterians and Congregationalists in the congregation split over the issue of how best to oppose the institution of slavery. The Congregationalists retained the church building and the land. The cornerstone at Central Congregational Church omits the word Presbyterian from the term church purposes. When the split occurred, the Presbyterians walked out of the church and across the square to worship at the second Knox Academy. They built a small church on South Street, on land given to them by Sylvanus Ferris, where they worshiped for a few years. In the mid-1850s, we had a church building at the corner of Main and Kellogg. We don't know which corner it was, but it was at Main and Kellogg. At this time, the church split between New School Presbyterians and Old School, with the Old School establishing their church at the corner of North and Cedar. The Old School Presbyterians then moved to Simmons Street. Meanwhile, the New School Presbyterians built their new church on South Cherry Street across from the courthouse on land that was given to them by Sylvanus Ferris. That building was the home of our congregation for about 30 years. It was during this time that the Old School and New School Presbyterians reunited under the leadership of Reverend George Duffield, who a few years later would write, Stand up for Jesus." On November 30th, 1891, disaster struck when the church was burned to the ground in a terrible fire. In only 2 years, we built our current building at the corner of Prairie and Ferris Street at the cost of $60,000. On dedication day, the loan had not yet been paid off, so the hat was passed and passed again and passed again until we collected the last $11,800 to pay off the mortgage. The building was built of beautiful white stone from Indiana, but within a few years of being south of the railroad tracks, it turned black and remained that way for a number of years. We still worship in the winter, but this building is a far cry from the humble cabins of Log City. Let us hope that even if our church founders wouldn't recognize the building, that we could share their spirit of devotion.